Good morning. How are you today? I want to ask you, why is it, do you think, that the 23rd Psalm, which begins, "The Lord is my shepherd," is known so far beyond the church? It's been a popular choice of hymn for weddings and for funerals. And down through the years, it's brought comfort and strength, whether on the battlefield or in the hospital, or for people going through any kind of trial. And I believe it's still a word relevant for us today. One day, when Sunday fell on New Year's Day, I knew that any who made it to church after Hogmanay would not be wanting a full-length sermon from their minister. So instead, we decided to have a Songs of Praise type service. Members of the congregation would be allowed to choose a hymn on two conditions. They had first of all got to attend the service, and secondly, they had to explain to those who were present the reason for their choice. It turned out to be a very special service. Some of the younger adults had never heard the older generation speak about their faith and what it meant to them. However, for me and for many, the most moving moment was when one of our senior elders stood up. His choice was the 23rd Psalm, and he told this story. He was a young soldier in the army during the last war, and he took part on the D-Day landings. As they headed towards the Normandy beaches, he, like many others, that day were very frightened, though he would not confess it for the world. He knew the chances were high that by evening he might either be dead or wounded. And then suddenly, as his mind was going all over the place, a Scottish voice from another boat began to sing the 23rd Psalm to the tune of Crimond. And the tune was picked up by soldiers in his boat, and other boats joined in, and somehow, expressing their faith in these familiar words, gave them the courage they needed to face the day ahead. There was a lump in my throat, I tell you, as he sat down, and then we all stood up and with full voices began to sing the psalm. However much we're trying to live normal lives just now, we know that life isn't normal. It's weird. It's frightening and unsettling for many, even if we're not on the front line. Even if news of death is still mercifully at a distance and hasn't touched people we know. Even if we're still being paid and there is a job to go back to, there's still a sense we're out of our depth. We do not know what will happen. We do not know how long all this will last, and we wonder what we will find at the end of it all and what will remain of life as we've known it. It seems as if we're going through an apparently endless, gloomy Scottish glen. I suspect that one of the reasons the 23rd Psalm connects with so many people is the ring of truth about it. For the psalmist recognises that part of human experience is that we all have to face, at different points in our lives, to different degrees and in different forms, what he calls the valley of the shadow of death. We recognise it as an apt description of where we are just now. The picture he paints is of a shepherd leading his sheep home from pasture. They have to pass through a rocky ravine as dusk begins to fall. And danger is a reality. A sheep could fall and injure itself. Wolves or bears may be waiting to ambush. A snake could strike. However, they're not alone, for the shepherd is with them, by their side. He carries a club to protect them, and a staff to guide them, and to pull them from harm. He took them into the valley, and he will also lead them through it, for he has been there before. He knows the way, and together he will take them safely to the far end. Two questions that arise are these. The first is, why should the sheep trust the shepherd? And the answer is clear. Because they've come to know him. He knows them. He knows them by name and he understands them. He has a track record on which they can depend. That famous first line, so familiar to many, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," is open to confusion. Years ago, when I was working in Zambia, a schoolboy wrote to me, "By Collins," he wrote, "it says, 'The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want,' but I do not understand. Why do I not want the Lord to be my shepherd?" Well, of course you do. So let me put it this way. The Lord is my shepherd, and so I have everything I need. Just now, as life is on hold, one of the questions people are asking is this: do you simply want to go back to life as it was? After all, for the last few years, we've been a nation ill at ease with itself, conscious also that we were consuming far too much and in so doing imperiling our planet, and yet at the same time wanting more. In a cemetery in England, there's a gravestone with this inscription: "She died for want of things." Alongside that stone is another which reads, "He died trying to give them to her." We need to know where we're going. There's no use pretending, though, that life is not hard just now, and for some very hard and sore indeed. What the psalmist discovered, and many since have found, is that God draws near to us in our darkness. Jesus, the Good Shepherd, shares our skin and knows how we feel. He's able to meet our needs and will be with us as our companion through the longest, darkest, and most isolated moments. Before the sheep entered that gloomy glen, they had known the care of the shepherd, taking them to places where they could safely graze, ensuring they got enough rest, knowing that they needed to drink still water because they would choke on running water. When they were worn out, he would care for them, and he would watch in case they fell and got hurt or rolled over on their backs and weren't able to get back on their feet. He'd looked after their best interests with little thought for himself and his needs. And so they were willing to trust him, even in the dark places where the shadows lay. He knew the hills well. He would guide them on the best paths, and for him they would go into the valley, if that is the way they must go. Whenever we're tempted to doubt the love of Jesus for us, do go back and read about him in the Gospels and see his care and concern for people confronting a bewildering cross-section of need, and see his willingness to lay down his life for others and to do just the same for us. I remember a poster depicting Christ on the cross. Arms were stretched out, and underneath were the words, "Christ couldn't have cared more. Could you care less?" So we face the unknown, putting our hands into his hands, into the hands of God, because of what we know, both from the Gospels and from our experience. Our second question is this: why should we face the grim valley? The answer the psalmist suggests is this: that through the darkness is the brightness, and through the gloom there lies glory. And these things, horrific as they are, will pass. And when there is a shadow, that means there must be light somewhere. So the psalm finishes on a more positive note. The shepherd will bring the sheep safely home, where they're able to feast at leisure. It will be like a banquet. He cares for them. He provides for them. because a good shepherd knows how to do their job. Here then is the hope that keeps us going. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. From the Lord is my shepherd to a future hope of going home. From the crucifixion of the Good Shepherd to his triumphant resurrection. Sounds good enough to me. And so, with courage and faith, aye, and sometimes with tears, we will face whatever dark days lie ahead, knowing, however long they last, knowing that he leads us, stands with us, will protect and provide for us. Whatever we're called to endure, we will do so together, with Christ beside us. Thanks be to God. God bless you.